I'm Rebecca Davis.
And I'm Justin Amler.
With the federal election nearing, we're continuing our deep dive into where the major parties stand on the issues that matter most to the Australian Jewish community. We've covered anti-Semitism.
And now we're diving into how Australia votes on Israel-related issues at the United Nations.
Plus, one of the most controversial aid organisations on the global stage, UNRWA.
So let's start with the UN. The question is, what principles should guide how Australia votes on Israeli-Palestinian resolutions at the UN?
The Coalition's answer is pretty direct. Under a Dutton government, Australia would go back to a clear and consistent stance, standing with Israel and voting against biased, one-sided resolutions. No more of this middle ground abstaining business.
Yeah. It says Australia's votes should reflect support for Israel's right to exist in secure borders and to defend itself. And crucially, it would call out the anti-Israel bias that's baked into so many UN resolutions, not just sit quietly on the fence.
And it's committed to reverting to what it calls the previously long-standing positions. Though let's be honest, those voting patterns have changed under pretty much every government. Still, its direction is clear. Side with Israel loudly and proudly.
Now, Labor's approach, it's murkier. It says it's frustrated by the lack of progress towards peace, and now it's floating the idea that recognizing a Palestinian state before any final status negotiations could somehow help.
Which is a major shift. It's essentially cracked open the door to unilateral recognition, something that breaks with Australia's traditionally bipartisan position of linking recognition to actual peace outcomes.
And while it insists Hamas has no place in a future Palestinian state, it sends some mixed signals by backing resolutions at the UN that many see as legitimizing Palestinian statehood without requiring meaningful reform or demilitarization.
It's a kind of posturing that plays well on the world stage, but risks undermining the very peace process they claim to support.
Now onto UNRWA, the UN agency meant to help Palestinian refugees, but which has been exposed again and again for its ties to Hamas and incitement.
The Coalition's position? Enough is enough. It's called UNRWA a disgraced organisation and says a Dutton government would cut funding entirely. Instead, it would redirect aid through trusted international partners, ones not infiltrated by a terror group.
It's also made clear that it won't hesitate to suspend aid if there's even a hint of it being misused, whether that's stipends to terrorists, hateful textbooks, or anything that undermines peace.
Now, Labor says it's committed to transparent and effective aid. But here's the thing. Australia is still funding UNRWA under this government. And despite mounting evidence of serious breaches, Labor has chosen to trust that safeguards will be enough.
Even when UNRWA employees were directly involved in the October 7 attacks, Labor only briefly suspended funding. That's a hard position to justify.
Because while it says aid must go to those in need, in practice it's continuing to funnel money into a system riddled with abuse and extremism. That's not safeguards, that's wishful thinking.
If we're serious about peace, serious about protecting civilians, and serious about fighting anti-Semitism, then our aid needs to reflect that. And right now, Labor's approach is raising some real red flags.
So, UN votes, UNRWA funding, two key issues that speak volumes about each party's real-world commitment to peace and security.
And when it comes to standing with Israel clearly and consistently, the differences between the parties are clearly significant.